The Balrogs of Morgoth, from the Lord of the Rings, are demons that are shrouded in shadow and flame. They are described with streaming fiery manes, and vast wings of shadow. Balrogs wielded flaming swords and whips, but the Lord of the Balrogs, Gothmog, used a great black axe. In this video we will discuss the history and lore of the Balrogs of Morgoth, what they are, and how one of the surviving Balrogs managed to be awakened by the dwarves in Moria. Balrogs were originally Maer, angelic sprites that were created before the beginning of the world by the god Eru-Elevator. Maer being those like Sauron, Gandalf, and the other wizards. But some of the Maer that took physical form were corrupted at the hands of Melkor, and they joined his rebellion against Eru-Elevator. After Melkor destroys the two lamps, he gathers his servants about him in his first fortress of Utumno, in the northern part of the world. Eventually, with the awakening of the elves, the Valar would seek to protect them from the Dark Lord, and move against him. Melkor would be defeated in the Battle of the Powers, in which his fortress of Utumno would be destroyed. At their master's defeat, the Balrogs flee west, to Melkor's secondary fortress of Angband. There, along with Sauron, they would await many long years until their master's return. Ages later, Melkor escapes Valinor with the Silmarils alongside the giant spider, Ungoliant. Meanwhile, the Balrogs are still waiting in Angband. After Melkor and Ungoliant arrive at Beleriand, Ungoliant demands the jewels they had stolen so that she may consume them. After handing over the lesser jewels voluntarily, Melkor attempts to withhold the Silmarils. Ungoliant, now grown to an even more massive size, threatens to destroy a weakened Melkor. Hearing Melkor's cry from Angband, the Balrogs run across the land of Beleriand like a tempest of fire. Using their whips, they drive off the great spider-like creature, saving their master. While Ungoliant would learn of these great fire demons and would make her way to Nan Dungborthabe, the elves would not learn of these foes until the day Jernu in Gileath. The elf lord of Noldor, named Fëanor, leads his people to victory in this battle over Morgoth as orcs. Fëanor, in his eagerness to defeat Morgoth himself, pushes on to enemy lands, where he is ambushed by an entire group of Balrogs. Here, we meet Gothmog, the Lord of the Balrogs. Gothmog mortally wounds Fëanor, who dies of his wounds after being rescued by his sons. Gothmog and his fellow Balrogs would play major frontline roles in Morgoth's wars against the elves and men of Middle-earth. In Dajir Bragalach, a force of Balrogs are unleashed alongside Glaurung, the very first dragon. They break a 400-year siege of Angband and the area of Ardgalen is consumed in rivers of flame, becoming the desert plain of Anfoglith. In a later counter-attack by a great alliance organized by Fëanor's son Medros, the Balrogs fight alongside the orcs and dragons in an eventual overwhelming victory for Morgoth, known as the Nirna Eth Arno Ediad. In this battle, Gothmog kills Fingon, the second High King of the Noldor, to die at his hands. In the closing moments of this battle, it is Gothmog who captures Hurin alive at the order of his master. He binds this lord of men and drags him back to Angband, where he would be interrogated by Morgoth. It would not be until the fall of Gondolin that we would see an elf best a Balrog in battle. In fact, this victory for Morgoth would cost him two of his greatest servants. Having learned the location of Gondolin, Morgoth sends forth an army of orcs, Balrogs, and dragons. As a group of elves are taking a hidden pass through the mountains, they are waylaid by a Balrog. In this moment, Glorfindel, the very same that we meet in the Fellowship of the Ring, stays behind to battle the demon alone, so that his kin may flee to safety. Glorfindel and the Balrog fight upon the pinnacle of a rock, and both fall into the abyss below, to their deaths. Meanwhile, within the city in the very square of the king, the elf lord Ecthelion comes face to face with Gothmog. In their battle, Ecthelion drives the spike of his helm into the belly of the great Balrog, and pulls the creature with him into the deep fountain of Gondolin. The Balrogs' fire is extinguished and both Gothmog and Ecthelion drown in the waters of the fountain. When the First Age was coming to an end, the Valyr had defeated Morgoth. Almost all of his dark forces were destroyed with only one Balrog that had managed to escape a hide deep inside the mountains of Middle-earth. This was the great Balrog of the Third Age, where he would flee and hide in the darkest depths of the Misty Mountains, directly beneath the ancient dwarf kingdom of Hazad-dûm. There, he would lay dormant for over 5,000 years, missing the entirety of the Second Age and most of the Third. However, in 1980 of the Third Age, the dwarves of Hazad-dûm were led by King Durin VI. In their attempts to further mine for more mithril, the great treasure of their realm, the dwarves had dug too greedily and too deep and awoke the Balrog in the darkness of the Misty Mountains. A creature that at this time would be nothing more than an ancient legend to the dwarves. The Balrog kills King Durin VI, with which this great demon of shadow and flame was given the name Durin's Bane. While the dwarves would attempt to fight off the great demon, its power is far too great, and they are driven from their home in 1981, after Durin's heir, King Nain I, is also killed by the Balrog. The elves of Lurien were made aware of these events, and started calling Hazad-dûm Moria, meaning the Black Pit. These Sylvan elves simply referred to the creature as the Nameless Terror, as they did not realize what it truly was at the time. For the next 500 years, Moria would belong to the Balrog until the Fellowship's desperate journey into Moria, Gandalf the Grey came face to face with the fiery demon. Their clash was legendary. Gandalf shattered the bridge of Hazad-dûm, sending them both plummeting into the abyss of darkness. For 8 days, they battled in the deepest pits until their final fight on the peak of Zyra-Sigil, where Gandalf triumphed, casting the Balrog to its doom. The Balrogs were such fierce creatures that were powerful beyond human, dwarvish, and most elvish warriors. That is everything I can cover on the Balrogs of Morgoth. I hope you enjoyed and subscribed to my channel, and thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.